Well, hi everyone. Through the years, as I've read the Bible and journeyed through various faith experiences, I've observed a reoccurring spiritual principle, and that is life is full of surprises and challenges, and God seems to use these improbable means and methods to accomplish His will. This certainly was the case in the life of my father-in-law. He's a good friend and a godly man, and I love him dearly. And I am sure that he sent up many prayers through the years that his daughter, Juanita, would someday marry a man who loved both her and God very much. Yet, if an angel would have appeared to John Stridehorst on a particular August evening in 1983 and transported him to the parking lot at Londonderry Mall in northeast Edmonton, and there from some vantage point in the air showed him a troubled 17-year-old running across the mall parking lot in stocking feet with 4 policemen in hot pursuit, John Stridehorst might have thought to himself that God's eHarmony network must have crashed, because there was no way that young rebel was going to marry his precious and lovely daughter. But imagine for a moment that same angel turned to John and said, "No, John, the eHarmony network is working fine, and that young man who is running desperately from the police will soon run desperately into the arms of Jesus, and one day hold your daughter in his arms as his wife." And now envision John just scratching his head and asking, how will this be? How will this be? We have all been in similar situations when we wondered out loud to God, how will this be? How will you work this out, God? How is this going to work? And I'm sorry, but I'm just not seeing it. And in asking that question of God, we would be joining a long chorus of faithful saints who ask the same question in some form or fashion. How will this be? Noah built a boat on dry land before the flood came. Abraham and Sarah were well past the age of childbearing, and yet God promised them a son. Moses was asked by God in the burning bush to go and set his people free from Pharaoh's slavery in Egypt. The list goes on, doesn't it? And it seems God prefers to select the improbable and the unlikely to do the impossible. And the reason why God works this way time and time again is because then He receives the glory. He receives the glory that alone He is worthy of. The Apostle Paul explains this principle quite nicely for us in 1 Corinthians 1, 26 through 29, where he writes, "Brothers and sisters, think of what you were when you were called. Not many of you were wise by human standards. Not many of you were influential. Not many of you were of noble birth. But God chose the foolish things of the world to shame the wise. God chose the weak things of the world to shame the strong. He chose the lowly things of this world and the despised things, and the things that are not, to nullify the things that are, so that no one may boast before Him." And one of the most compelling and amazing examples of this spiritual principle brings us to a little forgotten town in Galilee called Nazareth. And it's here in this unlikely setting where God sends the angel Gabriel to visit a young Jewish virgin named Mary. What was the purpose of this angelic visit? To let Mary know that she had been chosen for a very special assignment. Listen to what Luke recorded. "But the angel said to her, 'Do not be afraid, Mary. You have found favor with God. You will be with child and give birth to a son, and you are to give him the name Jesus. He will be great and will be called the Son of the Most High. The Lord God will give him the throne of his father David, and he will reign over the house of Jacob, and his kingdom will never end.'" And then we hear Mary's response. how will this be? How will this be? It can be a question of doubt, or it could be a declaration of faith. How will this be? It can be an expression of cynicism and disappointment, or it can be an expression of wonder and expectancy. For Mary, it was not a statement of doubt, but one of expectant faith. I wonder how God is going to work through this. So whatever head-scratching or heart-wrenching situation you may be encountering right now in your life, may you experience Jesus' peace in your heart, in your mind, so that you can trust Him rather than doubt Him. In closing, I want us to consider a few lessons to prepare us when God surprises us with something unexpected. First of all, our how will this be moments are the platforms upon which God does some of His best work. Your health, your job, your family situation, your brokenness, and any other complexity that you may be facing can never frustrate God and His plans when we are willing to trust Him fully and walk with Him through these storms. Secondly, God's delays are not necessarily His denials. God's delays are not necessarily His denials. Don't misinterpret a wait for a no. Don't assume that if the solution hasn't come in a matter of a few days or a few weeks, that God is saying no or never. He is simply saying, not right now, or I need you to wait. And rather than allowing this to be a cause for doubt, let it be a cause for growth as you learn full dependency. As hard as that can be, I get it. But as we learn full dependency on God, so that we can bring Him glory in our lives. And lastly, God is sovereign. He is our sovereign Lord, and He has the right to say no, just as He has the sovereign right to say yes. If you believe that He is a gracious God only when He says yes, then you will live a very confused faith life. As Job said, shall I receive good at the hand of God and not calamity also? Shall I give Him praise for good health and curse His name when ill health strikes? Well, God bless you, Still Heights, and I look forward to joining you this Sunday online and in person for worship. May the peace and the love of Christ be with you and your families. Merry Christmas, and bye for now.